Well, it is Friday, guys. And you know what Friday means. Friday's our favorite day of the week because we get to speak to incredible people who we ask to join us. And today, is it Eva or Ava? Eva?
It's Eva, but Ava is a beautiful name as well. So
Ah, they're both awesome. Yeah. So we are privileged to have Eva join us. A referral from Shakara. And Shakara, where's my friend Shakara? There you are.
I'm here.
Shakara, before I try to do an intro, tell us how we got to know Eva, how we got the privilege of having Eva on the call.
Okay, yeah, so to give you some backstory, I attended in late summer last year a brunch that a friend of mine had put together where I met a woman who has a wellness practice. And I don't even remember if me and that woman exchanged contact information at that time, but we ended up friending each other on Facebook. And sometime later, she had put out an ad for people to come and help participate in an ad she was putting together for her practice. So because I didn't have much to do that day, I was like, why not? Let me go and meet some new people. So I did. She and I talked. I sat waiting for my turn. And then while I'm sitting there, in walks who I now know as Eva, bright smile. She greets the whole room. And then she turns and talks to her friend. And then to my surprise, she beelined to me and sat right next to me. And we started just talking. She talked to me like we knew each other forever, to the point where her friend, the woman who owned the practice, was like, do you guys know each other? Like, how long have you known each other? I didn't know you knew each other. And I was like, well, I didn't know we knew each other either, but no, this feels like it. She felt really familiar. She felt like an old friend or family member that I've known forever. And so in that moment, what I realized, especially after moving along with the team more, I'm like, she just step one of the buyer consult with me. she just she just rapport built with me really
You're like,
quickly.
wait a second,
Yeah,
I know what you're doing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But it was so natural. And since then I've met her family, we've attended other events together, and I've watched her do this over and over again where she meets someone and immediately they're like their family, or and we've built this kind of community now where there's people that I put her in touch with, there's people she's put me in touch with, we're networking, and we've created this friendship, and we have other things that we have planning moving forward. So I just thought that alone, I'm sure she has way more about her background to tell you, but that alone is so impressive. Like, she's a warm personality, she uses it for good and really channels it, and not only to help people, but to create this like just welcoming environment.
Well,
And
you are. First thing I want to say is what a great intro, and I'm so excited, Eva. I
that
can't
is a
wait.
great intro.
But Shakara, I want to give you a huge testimonial because part of what we ask of everyone on the team is to always be open to learning and engaging the world and being a part of the community that you're in. And then to bring, don't be the bottleneck, to bring those lessons and opportunities to the team. And you have done that countless times with the people that you have found in your world that have been mentors, leaders, good friends. And I just tremendous kudos to you and a total testimonial. Keep it up. So now with that said, I cannot wait to get to know you, Eva. So Eva, we are I'm sure Shakara gave you a little background, and I know Corey did also, but we are a team of high performing real estate agents. So, out in the world, there are real estate agents, and then there's the Miale team. And we're a bunch of freaks and geeks and weirdos and crazy people who like to go out and really kind of put our all into what we do. So on average, we're, outperforming the typical agent by about 6 times from a production standpoint. You see, we've got this morning call here at 8:30 and everybody's here and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and no cameras are off and nobody's driving, right? This is a group of people that are committed to winning. And there's all kinds of things that come along with that. Among them is a constant need for personal reflection and leadership and personal development. And so over the course of my journey as a leader, I would have these opportunities to get to know awesome people because I'd be out there looking and I would fail miserably at trying to translate the lessons I'd learned to the people that I led. And so I made this decision to stop being the bottleneck. It sort of occurred to me that I was the one in the way. And we started inviting people to come and speak to the team directly. So this is just casual, sort of get to know you a little bit. But with that said, tell us who we're talking to, Eva. Why are we so privileged to have you here today? What wakes you up every day?
Okay, thank you. Wow, you both. Obviously,
A
obviously,
lot of
Shakara
stuff.
didn't. Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, but Shakara got that from you, I would say, or maybe she had it herself. But also, great intro of the team, and I would just commend you, Matt, because when I do coach leaders who have teams, this is exactly what I encourage them to do. This is the challenge with so many teams. The leader. Okay, if you just guys allow me on my soapbox for a minute, because I'm a self-proclaimed self-help junkie as well. And, in leadership, so many times I talk to leaders who are frustrated because they're like, my team isn't, where I want them to be. But they're the ones that are going to the conferences and reading the books and, getting coaching themselves. And they're frustrated that their team doesn't. So commendation to you, Matt, for doing this for your team on a regular basis, not like once a quarter or once a year, but every
No.
week. That is awesome. So,
Well, I joke often that people will say, "Oh, are you in real estate?" And I go, "Well, not really. I'm actually in the behavior modification business because what we really are trying to do is get people to do the things that they need to do in order to get the life that they said that they want, right? Which is wild because at the end of the day, the benefit is all to the person who does the thing.
right.
But again, having been, a person who's gone through that journey myself, that you realize it's a journey. You have to
Yep.
learn things, you have to experience
Yep.
stuff, you have to meet people that teach you
Absolutely.
things. And so
Yeah.
the faster you can do that,
Yeah.
the sooner the lesson will land. So that's why you're
Absolutely.
here. We want to learn about you. We want to learn about, your leadership journey. How did you get started? Where did you get started? You said you're a self-help junkie. So from one self-help junkie to
Yeah.
another, I
Yeah.
can't wait to hear about all the self-help that you've ascribed to.
Yeah. Well, I was at your office and I saw you had one of Tony Robbins' big books
Oh
somewhere
yeah.
there in the conference room. So I'm definitely a Tony Robbins stan as well. But hi, everybody. Hi, team. Thanks for being here and absolutely with your cameras on as well. I think that's to be commended because so many people, it's so much easier to hide behind the Zoom without the camera on. So thanks for being here. So yes, I'm Eva Forde. Uh, but if you call me Eva, that's fine as well. But I come from a behavioral science background myself. So I was in college for 2 years undecided. And I'm not the first or second in my family to go to college. I know that's a story for many people. I don't know how many people in my family had higher education before me. So I come from a very highly educated family. But my family, although highly educated, not necessarily, what would I say? I would say yes, educated, but just to kind of live paycheck to paycheck. And I,
Not entrepreneurial, right? They hadn't broken through that, right? I understand.
not entrepreneurial, side
Mhm.
hustlers, you would have some there, but everybody kind of had their steady job, right? And so I didn't know that not going to college was an option. I was born on a college campus. My dad was the dean of men. My mom worked for the president's office. So education was just something, but also this idea of or this saying that like, oh, I only have a dime to my name, or I'm as poor as a church mouse, those sayings, right?
Mhm.
And I never really thought much about it at all. 2 years undecided in college, and then really kind of came up against this an identity crisis because all of my friends knew what they wanted to be in life when they grew up, and I had no clue.
Mhm.
And I ended up taking a year off. It was a Christian college that I went to. I took a year off to be a missionary, and I say missionary in quotes because it was really an escape for me. I had no care about spreading the gospel or whatever I was supposed to be doing. I just needed to get away. And I was in Taiwan for a year. And that year really helped to shape my worldview. And I already love diversity and, different foods, different languages, travel. But that year, kind of being in an entirely different environment and learning another language and learning different perspectives really opened my eyes to this idea that number one, wherever I go, there I am, because I thought I could leave my problems when I left the country for a year. Not so. I got to Taiwan and I was like, wait, I'm still the same person? What is
Why am I
this?
still why am
What?
I still a bundle of nerves and anxious and
Exactly.
stressed? Yeah.
Exactly. Like,
Yeah.
why isn't everything sunny and roses? And then, that really forced me to just, start to do a lot of inner work on myself. And when I went back to the US, when I got back to the US, I was introduced to the profession of social work. And I thought, wait a minute, I can get paid for being myself. This is great. Social workers help people. I like to help people. And as I went through that journey, not just the education journey, but then I moved to New York to get my master's degree. Because, by the way, I was in Alabama at the time and born and raised in Alabama, between Alabama and Florida as a child. And, anybody here know anything about Alabama or go to Alabama or have kind of, Aaron? Not really, no.
Mhm.
Yeah, kind of, Jeremy.
I've been in.
My best friend
Yeah.
lives in Huntsville, so I know Huntsville. That's it.
Wait, who lives in Huntsville?
My best friend.
So I'm from Huntsville, born in Huntsville Hospital. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So and when I was growing up, Huntsville was this little place. Huntsville is huge now. It's booming. When I go to Huntsville now, I have to have GPS. But anyway, when I grew up, there was a lot of black and white. And I don't mean the newspaper. I mean just in communities. And
Mhm.
I was like, I need to, again, I've finished my undergrad degree. I've been to Taiwan and I'm like, I gotta get out of here. There's more to life than just this. Like there's diversity. And so I was like, where's the furthest north I can go to get my master's? And I ended up going to Columbia in New York. And
You got your MSW from Columbia?
I did.
So did my mom.
She's awesome. I
Yeah,
know
she's
this. Yeah.
smart. Yeah,
That's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went to Columbia and I was in heaven, just in New
Mm.
York, big city. I was still small town girl. So there was, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this play that was really famous on Broadway called The Vagina Monologues. But when I heard it, my little virgin ears were like, oh no, I can't go to that. They were giving out free tickets at Columbia. And I was like, I'm clutching my pearls. And again, this is small town, I'm thinking I'm thinking really small. Um, and again, New York was really good for me because it helped to further expand my horizons, my worldview. And I worked in with survivors of torture. I worked with people who were living with HIV and AIDS. I worked in domestic violence shelters. So I did some work between Alabama and New York. And one weekend, I took a trip to see my grandmother who lived in Jamaica because I had promised her that I would see her every year. And if I missed this weekend, that would have made more than a year that I hadn't seen her. So I took a trip because I didn't have vacation time, took a quick trip to Jamaica, left on Friday after work, scheduled to come back Monday right before work. And when I got back to New York, there had been this snowstorm. Oh, you'll be in Jamaica tomorrow, Dan? Amazing. I'll be there next month. But when I got back to New York, there had been this snowstorm over the weekend. And I was so angry because I was like, what do you mean? I was literally in paradise 3.5 hours ago.
Mm.
And now I have to shovel through snow. What is this? So I was complaining to my friend, pacing back and forth in his office. And he said to me, why don't you just move there? And I was like, that's brilliant. I have no chick nor child. I will move to Jamaica. And this was in 2000, end of 2000, right? And so no, 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 I was not in the 2004, end of 2004. And so I did my due diligence with my job. I was working at a hospital at the time, and I did my due diligence, said goodbye to my clients, was wrapping things up. And that took some time. You know, I had some time on my lease with my roommate. And lo and behold, my grandmother was really looking forward for me to come. She had set up this job for me at a local university, and she has a stroke and passes away. I know it sucks, right? But everything was already in motion to
Mm.
go to Jamaica. And I had like said goodbye to my job, like they were already closing out the grants and stuff. And I was like, what am I supposed to do? I was like, I guess I'll just keep going because I
Mhm.
didn't get the sense that I shouldn't. So I went, my grandmother left me this property. There were tenants on the property, and I really had to figure it out. And I'm going to give you the short version, but in that figuring out, I had a financial crisis. And this is where when I had my financial crisis, is when I really started to dive very deeply into personal development because I was drowning in debt. You know, I had student loans to pay in the US, but I'm making this at the time, Jamaica was classified as a third world country. It's now classified as a developing country, but I'm making this developing country salary that's under the poverty line in the US. And tenants are taking advantage because I don't know anything and I don't speak patois. And, you know, it was a hot mess. Um, and there was a hurricane that had come through and took off the roof of one of the houses on the property. And um, so they were giving away loans, $10,000 loans to people that worked at the university. And at this point, so I got there in '05. This was '08. And at this point, I was the head of the social work unit at this university. And I said, okay, great. I'll get this $10,000 loan. They'll deduct it from my check every month, which is fine because I have this job, I'm working. And while I get this $10,000 loan to redo my roof, why don't I just use the majority of it? Because I can um, get started on it with like $1,000 or $2,000 just to get the work going, and I'll put the rest cash into this unsecured investment that I know nothing about. Exactly, Jeremy. Exactly. And when I did that, I found out very quickly, I got a very quick education that, like I said, number one, I don't know about money. I don't know about investments. I don't speak this language. And now I'm in trouble because I've got this money coming out of my account every month. I already wasn't making a lot of money, but now I'm making less and I have to pay this loan back and I don't have a roof on the house. And so I can't rent out this, I don't have this income. So it really left me financially unstable for many years. But what I realized in that moment, I said, you know what? In social work, they teach you, they brainwash you to believe that you're a superhero and can do anything. And I believe that. Now I value self-care a bit more, but I know I could do a lot. But I said, hey, I'm a social worker. I figure things out. So I'm either going to let this crush me or I'm going to learn from it. And I decided I'm going to learn from this. How many here have read Rich Dad Poor Dad? Okay, great. Think and Grow Rich. There you go.
It says for
That's for
teens.
teens.
Yeah.
Yeah, for teens. I've read most of
Going
the
through that
series.
with my daughter right now.
Oh my goodness, so good. She's gonna
Mhm.
be set for life. That's great. I
We're
read Rich.
hoping.
Yeah, absolutely. I read
Yeah.
Rich Dad Poor Dad. I read Think and Grow Rich. I read The Science of Being Rich. I read You Were Born Rich. I read anything with rich in the title. And what I found or realized was, oh, there's this thing called a wealth mindset
Mm.
and a money mindset, and everything is mindset.
Mm.
And mine, when it comes to this area of my life, is really poor. It's really lacking. And I can fix it. I can learn, right? Initially,
There's so much, Eva, that
yeah,
you've been saying that I want to dig into. So
yes,
before we
yes,
even flip the page,
yeah.
so first of all, you had I think what I want to note, especially for everybody on the team, is that you have a temperament and disposition that starts with there's fixed mindset and then there's open mindset. And we talk
Growth.
about that as how you sort of approach the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's obvious that even from a young age, you had an open mindset because in each of these turns of events, in each of these challenges, in each of these things that you discussed, moving to Jamaica, your grandmother passing away, not knowing what you wanted to do, your approach to it was sort of like, let me see what happens,
Mm-hmm.
not that will never happen for me. You
Right.
you had a already some raw material that said
That's true.
there's an opening. I don't know, but here I am, so let me figure it out. And perhaps that came from your experience in Taiwan when you said, no matter where you go, there you are.
Right.
But that's something that I think is really worthy of noting and something we spend time talking about that if you are of a fixed mindset that starts with, well, that's not for me, that's the person that sees someone go on vacation and goes, must be nice. Like, what do you mean must be nice? Like they obviously did whatever they needed to do in order to get to the position where they could go do that. So you do that. You could do it too. You have a real open sort of thinking pattern, which I think is what allows people to be open to this idea that, well, whatever situation I'm in is not permanent. It can be changed.
Mm-hmm.
Your background, by the way, just so you know, not knowing what you wanted to do, going to college, dropping out of college, going to Jamaica, financial, going into financial ruin, all of that, it really qualifies you to be a great realtor, just so you know. Most of us have the exact same background. So as you were describing it, I was waiting for you to say, and now I'm getting my real estate license, because that's basically where most of us started. But your focus on how you would shift from one thing to the next, I think is the lesson in sort of how you've approached it. And we've only gotten to maybe when you were 22 years old at this point. Obviously, there's much more on the other side of it, but I'm fascinated to learn from you. Was that a learned experience? Like, how did you, yeah, pivot Jedi, Jeremy put in the chat. Yeah, like, how did you experience life in such a way where you realized that your situations were not permanent, that they were really truly up to you? And so you said, I faced financial hardship. By the way, I one of the things, like, I'll also say, I really think money's such a tricky thing for people. Most people here have some experience with money, and then we immediately, as people, we jump to money's either good or bad. Like we assign morality to money, that like our situation is as a result of money, or our situation is would be better if we had more money. And the truth is, money has none of that. Money has no morality. It has no good or bad to it. It's only how we experience it. And having financial hardship can be such a gift, because the what it forces for everybody
Mm-hmm.
is that inward experience. And it can also wreck people. I'm not saying it's easy, but your financial challenges are a testimony to, or they're a constant reminder that something inside of you needs rewiring. And I think that that's like sort of a universal message that shows up for people that are consistently confronted with financial challenges, which is that, like, there's a part of you that needs to rewire how you're seeing the world through the lens of abundance. Because if you keep running out of things, it's because you're seeing this as a limited resource, and it's not limited. We discovered over the earlier this week that in the state of Connecticut, just the state of Connecticut, last year there was $1 billion paid out in real estate commissions, just in the state of Connecticut. And so there are people on this call who have access to and the capacity to earn as much of that as they want if they choose to go earn it. Um, and there are people here that are saying, but there's not enough. I don't know how much of a billion you need, but I don't need that much of a billion in order to be really, really happy and live a tremendous life. So thank you for all of that, Eva. I just wanted to kind of comment and sort of circle back on it. So you're at this point now where you have to reinvent yourself. You're in Jamaica. a developing country, but at the time, what was it? It's now a developing
Third
country.
world,
It
third
was
world. They
a third
classify,
world
yeah.
country making below the poverty line in income. You've invested in some swampland or something, or some you've
It's a,
invested in some business
it
that
was,
that's
yeah, it was called Cash Plus, and
okay.
they were
All right.
promising 13% return on investment monthly.
Sounds
And
like it was probably a Ponzi scheme.
yeah, it was a nationwide Ponzi scheme though, and a
Yeah,
lot of
sure.
people, it worked for a lot of people, and by the time I heard about it,
It's
yeah,
how they all work.
that's how
That's
they
how the
work.
Ponzi's work.
Yep,
The first people in make the 13% and are winning. And by the time you invest, your money goes to all those people. And
exactly.
eventually it runs out.
Yep.
Eventually. Yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you've got to like reinvent yourself. So what happens?
Yeah, well, I didn't I wasn't thinking about reinventing at the time. I was really just thinking about surviving and thriving. My father, God bless him, he's about to he turns 90 this year. He's in
Wow.
great health. Um, and yet at the time, so I was not 22, I was like 35. And so but he was working up until the pandemic. So he was working up until like 82, and I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to
Mm,
do that. And so yeah, it was really about survival and determination. And so when I came to this understanding of this idea of a wealth or a money mindset, I started my first foray experiment, I guess, into creating my own asset, like Kiyosaki talks about in Rich Dad Poor Dad, was I wrote a book. And I was like, I got stuff to say coming out of my experience with my students. Let me see if this works. Wrote a book, self-published it on Amazon, and it was selling. And I was like, well, hey, it's working. And then I started a YouTube channel, and I was just sharing with social workers. So the book is called How Not to Practice Social Work. And it was really a reflection. It was kind of inspired by my students and my time teaching at university and leading there. So a lot of great students with a lot of good intention, and they had been trained by me and my colleagues who were ethical and trained, and they still weren't, they were just missing the mark. So, um, and I also saw them, they were asking me like, hey, can I borrow $1 to get a taxi to come to school because I don't have money. And again, I'm broker than broke at the time. I didn't have $1. In fact, my car is leaving me on the road because I can't afford to fix it. Oh, and my lights got turned off last week. So, like, no, I can't give you $1 to get to school. And I'm embarrassed because I felt like I was perpetuating the cycle of, telling them, because social work, I don't know that I said this, but when you think of social work, you don't think money. Most people think like, oh, no money,
mm,
oh, it's so nice that you want to do something for no money for other people. It's so benevolent of you. You'll never be rich. And those are also a lot of the messages that are ingrained in students in school. And so like I said, when I realized that, I felt bamboozled, hoodwinked, that this profession that I had identified with and raised my hand to join was actively keeping me broke. And
mm.
so I started a YouTube channel called Rich Social Worker. And what was interesting to me was social workers themselves were initially the ones that were offended. They were like, rich social worker? How
Mhm.
dare you? You know, we are not rich. We do not talk like that. And that's exactly what on the channel, that's the idea that I try to oppose and say, like, hey,
I'm such a fan of this topic
yeah,
because like and I know a lot of people on this call because I know everybody well will relate to this. But I grew up in a household with a firefighter as a
mhm,
father and a mother as a social worker. And the rhetoric was not one of wealth building or we had rhetoric in our house that money was bad,
yeah,
not good, not indifferent. Money
mhm,
was bad in the household that I grew up in. Money was evil. Money was for greedy people. Like there was an undercurrent that wealthy people had somehow always gotten wealthy by taking advantage of other people. That was how it occurred to me. Money
Mhm.
occurred to me that there was something inherently wrong if you had too much of it. Like, and so unwinding that, rewiring that is a lot of work, right? Because you're programmed from a young age that that's
Mhm.
the way it works. That if you're a person that contributes to society, the only way to contribute to society is to also suffer financially on some level. Like, not, you can't be too well off. You can be okay, but you can't be too well off. A good civil service job is probably about as good as it should go, right?
Mhm.
Anybody relate to that? I know that's definitely how it was in my world.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where I was saying, my family was educated, just like Kiyosaki's dad in the book was
Same.
educated.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know that money was evil, but my family was not necessarily, yeah, they didn't have the wealth mindset. It was kind of
Hmm.
like, let's get something from these rich people.
Hmm.
So yeah, and it's all about mindset, and it's all about yeah, just rewiring that brain, what you've been oriented to. Yeah.
Hmm.
And so, and by the way, I know you said I would make a good social worker. On my channel, Rich Social Worker, I have an interview with a realtor. Her name is Kimber Menkidi. They have the Menkidi group that's also a KW
Oh yeah, of
Realty.
course. I know Kimber really well.
You know Kimber.
Of course, yeah.
Kimber is on, I interviewed Kimber on my channel. Social
That's
worker,
awesome.
like, yeah, yeah.
Kimber just this just happened, I think last week. She is nationally the largest owner, the largest black female owner of real estate brokerages in the country.
I
She
get that.
has the largest real estate company in the US. I mean, a huge testimony to her and what she's built. So,
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And yeah, that makes sense to me. It's just
mhm. Yeah.
having spoken to her a few times, and fast forward, uh one of the things that I have done in recent years, stemming from Rich Social Worker and stemming from just my networking with other social workers who have come on board and are starting to say the same kinds of things, and this message is starting to spread in the profession. Um, I founded a wealth conference for social workers. Because again, it is about this mindset. And at the wealth conference, we talk about alternative uh, routes to wealth, real estate being one of them. We talk about whatever's trending, AI, investments, fintech, mindset, generational wealth building in various aspects. So it's really it's kind of my soapbox now, just
Mhm.
not just around money, right? But around this idea that, and I don't know who believes this on this call. I do. You can have what you want. You can have what you want.
Mhm.
Money is a resource that oh, don't they know that I'm on this call with you right now? Money is a resource that we use, but it's not the end all be all. I mean, however you want to classify money. I don't I classify it as a resource. And so it's not good or bad. But the more of it I have, the more impact I can make. And that is my goal,
Mhm.
impact. That any Did I answer your
Mhm.
question? I feel like I
Yeah, no,
maybe
I would. Well, there's a number of things that I took notes on here that again that are like observations around your journey that I think are brilliant. One is that you started out by saying, "I have something to say, so I'll write a book." Um, I think that's I think that's one of the most, again, this sort of open to possibilities mindset that says, let me just run through this door and see what happens. And then you started a YouTube channel. Now, I'm willing to bet that writing your first book wasn't easy, that you had like lots of things to learn and do. And I've never written a book. And if, like, but you said, like, I feel like I have a view on this that should be shared. So I'm going to write a book. And then you started a YouTube channel, which it sounds like is really a platform for you now
yeah.
that leads to coaching and other things that probably, I'm assuming, have some financial benefit to you. You charge for your masterminds and your coaching, and all of that stuff is turned into money, right?
Hmm.
The element that I love about the story is that it all came out of need, not greed. And this is, I think, the thing that you approach this with, this idea of I have something to say and something to do. And I'm not entirely certain exactly how the transactional nature of this will play out. What you didn't say is, I'm going to start a coaching, training, and leadership group for social workers
Right.
because they need it. You said, I have something that I think people will benefit from, and therefore I'm going to go out in the world and provide
Yes.
value. And
Yep.
then as you provided value, people started to exchange that value into commerce, which is actually the way money is intended to work.
Yes.
That value exchanged for value delivered is
Mhm.
we just call it money. That's the way we can transact where everything becomes even. 500 years ago, it would be, here's a goat and a ladder that I built, and you would say, come and teach
Right.
me how to farm corn or
Right.
something, right?
Yes.
Like, but that's not how it works anymore, right? So we operate on this value exchange for value delivered. And I think the message, which is so important, especially for the team, is that everybody here has a tremendous amount of value to deliver to a big audience of people, whether that's the real estate sales or something else. The main thing that holds us back is we don't know who to deliver the value to, or we wonder how to go out and do it. And your willingness to just see what happens is really, really pretty awesome. It's pretty incredible. So tell us about the YouTube channel. Tell us about, like, what's that look
Oh.
like now? What's your coaching business look like? Like what
Okay.
kind, how many subscribers do you have? How did it
Yeah. Okay.
start? Like,
Yes. Okay. So I will give you some stats there, but I think what I care most about is the impact that I make. So I think the YouTube channel I started like a year before the pandemic. Um, and when the pandemic happened, so let me go back and say what's it about. So uh, from people that watch the channel who aren't social workers, they often try to convince me to change the name of it because they're like, this information, what you're saying is not just for social workers. Everybody needs to hear this.
yes.
Um, and initially, so some videos are around specifically, money mindset. A lot of them are around leveraging your skills, whatever skills those are. I have interviews on that channel specifically with social workers or people who are trained in social work who have found success in some other area. So that's why Kimber was invited on the channel. I've got some coaches on the channel. I've got people, like I said, in fintech who are on the channel, just different people who have a social work background and who've used that training as leverage.
Well, I think there's power also, just my business mind can't help but interject here. There's
Mhm.
power also in building something for a niche and being very specifically for that niche, especially when that niche doesn't have access to it in other ways. If you
Exactly.
didn't have it called for social work, you probably wouldn't get that audience. And then you would just be another one, another voice in an already extremely crowded field of people talking about wealth building and personal development. So by
Exactly.
finding the niche that is underserved in that category and then
Exactly.
bringing the messages that are already, everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Like they're already out there, but
Yeah.
bringing those messages to that group,
Yeah.
you've created a captive audience for yourself, which is, again, that's just my business mind, which says
No, but you're right. Yeah.
that's really, really smart. Like that's a
Exactly
really
right.
smart thing to do.
Exactly right. You're absolutely right about that. So, and when I started it, I was self-taught. Well, when I say self-taught, I mean I read all the books. Jim Rohn has this saying, you're the average of the five people you spend the most time around. And again, being in Jamaica, and I was kind of rural Jamaica, and so it was me and my girlfriend who had migrated from the UK. We were each other's five. And so we read books and we watched YouTube videos and, you know, signed up for webinars and things and were influenced that way. But I couldn't really afford until when the pandemic happened. I had a friend who was in New York and said, "Hey, I know you've been wanting to come back to the States. let's ride out. You can feel free to ride out the pandemic here for the 2 weeks it's going to be here at my place in New York. And I thought, oh, great, that's great. The world is kind of shutting down for a minute. I'll come back to the States. And okay, so I've been here ever since. So um, now is everybody here in Connecticut?
Massachusetts and New York. We're in
Mass,
Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New
Massachusetts
York.
and New York.
Yeah.
Okay. So I am newly in Connecticut. That's where Shakar and I met. And I'm here because after 5 years of being back in the States last year, like I said, I started my conference, and kind of took a break from YouTube because planning a conference it's a lot of work and it takes the year to do. And last year when I went back, well, not last year, yeah, 2025. Yeah, 2025, I went back and I was like, okay, I'm back at my house. I need to, you know, fix some things and, just get back and be in Jamaica at least for another 4 or 5 months. We'll see what happens with the conference in the next year. And then I met my fiance. We met at a funeral in Jamaica. He had come in, and when I saw him, I thought, he's cute. And story goes, when he saw me, he said to his brothers, "That's going to be your sister-in-law." And so said, so done. So he lives in Connecticut. So now I live in Connecticut.
All right. So you followed your fiance. Got it.
Followed my fiance. But and so I'm actually getting back on YouTube more these days. I did my first video in a couple years last month. And so I did have a few clients and I paused them when I was doing the conference. I'm back with doing clients now. But mostly I'm working with executives and their teams. And I do some consulting for a couple companies that do leadership and development. So yeah, that's what's up with me.
That's wild. It's a
Yeah,
very cool story. And I love sort of how you landed where you are. Welcome to Connecticut. Where do you live in
thank
Connecticut?
you.
What town are
I'm
you
in
in?
Windsor,
Okay,
exit
awesome.
37. That's all I know.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, welcome. As you can tell, it still snows here. So when
Yeah,
you
I
evacuated
know.
last time and went back,
I know.
it still snows
I
here.
know.
And for what it's worth, this is one of the most challenging winters we've had in a long time. It has not been this cold and this snowy in a while. So you came back to a doozy, Eva.
Yeah, but the good thing is I tell my fiance he's lucky he's cute and he's great fun. We will be in Jamaica next month. Dan, I
Awesome.
know you'll be there next week. That's fun.
Yeah, and I've never been. It's a place I've got to
Oh,
get
it's
on my
lovely.
list. So,
It's lovely.
well, guys, before we wrap up, Eva, if you have a couple minutes, are you open to a couple questions or
Of
comments
course,
from
absolutely.
the team? Guys, I'd love
Yeah.
to hear, what did you take away today? What did you learn today? What comments do you have? Jeremy's got his hand up, so we'll start right off. What are you thinking, Jeremy?
I mean, from Alabama to New York City is like one of us getting dropped off in Mars.
Yeah.
And then, to just thrive through it all, wind up in Jamaica,
Mhm.
get into something knows nothing about, gets ripped off. Create success from it's pivot after pivot, but it's great attitude through everything.
Yeah.
And we're all capable of that. We're all capable of the pivot. I remember when I first moved to New York City, I had 4 roommates. We lived in this apartment, and we'd heard the expression "throw spaghetti on the wall," right? See what sticks.
Yeah.
We literally did that because we may have been, doing something at 21 we shouldn't have. And I remember the spaghetti stuck to the wall, and then it became, I wonder how long it'll stay there,
Yeah.
right? And that became like our motto. And we left that spaghetti. I was coming home from work one day, I found a frame. We framed that spaghetti. And that's always been our the four of us. It's always been our running joke now for 20 some odd years is like, what spaghetti are you throwing on the wall? And you throwing a lot of spaghetti on the wall. So thank you so much. This has been great.
That's brilliant, Jeremy. I love that. And something you just reminded me of something I wanted to get to was so when I don't remember how old I was. Maybe I was like 16 or something, traveling to Jamaica for the first time. In those days, you didn't have to have a passport. Your birth certificate was good enough. And I couldn't find my birth certificate. And I was traveling on my own. And I remember standing I think it was like the Delta counter. and I was like, I don't know what to do. And I wouldn't leave. I was like, we got to figure something. We have to figure something out because if I leave this desk, I'm on my own. It's payphones back in the day. And I was like, I don't have a quarter. Like, we have to figure it out. And what I learned from that was they ended up putting me in a hotel. Delta did put me in a hotel. I couldn't find my passport, my birth certificate, but they put me in a hotel until the next morning when my stepmom faxed my birth certificate to me and I could get on the next flight. But that taught me, oh, things can work out
Mm.
as long as I like engage.
Hmm.
Things can be solved. Marie
That that
Forleo, yeah,
it's like the thing that all of us want to teach our kids,
yeah,
that like nothing is actually catastrophic.
yeah.
But how you approach it. We talked about this a little bit this earlier this week, that like a flat tire for one person derails them for a week. For
Mhm.
someone else, it's a 15-minute diversion.
Yeah.
It's the same event, but it's how you approach and
Mhm.
experience it, right? We've all known somebody who's like traveling and like a flight gets delayed, and they're like,
Mhm.
my flight got delayed, and like all you hear about is how their flight got delayed. How was your trip? Well, the flight got delayed. You go like, you went on a 1 week vacation, but you led with your flight got delayed. Like, you have flights get delayed literally every day. Like, some people miss flights, like things, travel things happen. How is that the thing you hang on to? So, again, it's this capacity for going past it and recognizing
Mhm.
like it's just part of it. Flights get
Yeah.
delayed, people get flat tires, things, you get derailed, things happen.
Yeah. Move through
That's
it. Yeah.
amazing. Jeremy, thank you. Tony, what are you thinking?
What was the name of that show again? And is it still running? No, I'm just kidding. You know the show you talked about. Jeremy, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh,
So it's something I struggled with, and I'm glad you talked about mindset. Where it's like a constant battle for me, like where my mind talk myself out of stuff, and like I think sometimes the best version of me is the person that's trying to go to sleep at night, where my mind is racing and I just want to go to work, and then when I wake up in the morning, it's like all out the window, and I don't. It's like I struggle so much with that. Like I don't know if you have like, and I don't think there's any cheat code. Like the only way it's through, but is that something you can speak on?
yeah. Well, what I would say is, so every Sunday I attend this it's a planning session, co-working kind of. We're on a Zoom like this, and it's called the Art of Pace. And in the Art of Pace, we have a time called capture and process because the mind is not supposed to remember everything. Like we're supposed to that's why we write things down. So capture, what I would just suggest to you when your mind is racing, like just have a little notebook, write down all those things, whatever it is, get it out of your head. Um, and and then the other thing I would say is the mind loves organization and structure. I am not the most organized or structured person, but I appreciate it and I function better when I have even a little structure. I did this recently where I just printed out a chart and it's got empty spaces, and all I do every day is like I write down, okay, spoke to, like, it's the who, what, and then like what's the follow-up? And so who, Shakara, what spoke to her about, speaking at the morning meeting? And then what's the follow-up? Okay, Eva, respond to Corey, like, and just that kind of keeps me on track, whether it's, a phone call or an idea I have in my mind. But I would just say capture and organize if that's
Mhm.
helpful. But it's really been helpful for me. Sounds really simple, but it was a process to even put that together.
No, but Eva, it's the mind loves structure. You said that. That is so true. What I find when people are spinning out, like, call spinning out whatever it is. Somebody said you're overwhelmed, you're stressed, you're anxious, like you're just having a rough time with something, whether that's a client or an agent on the team or a friend. The resolution to it is, and you guys have all heard me do this, I've probably done it to you at some point, where I sort of go Columbo on you. I go like just the facts. Like, just the facts, because the facts are not the when you isolate what's really going on in a situation, all of a sudden you strip the emotion out of it and the overwhelm goes away, and that mindset, you can get control back of your mindset, which is like a runaway train, right? So you can get back to, so what happened? I got a flat tire. Okay, so what's the impact of that? I'm going to be late for a meeting. Okay, who's at the meeting? This person, this person, and this person. Have you let them know? Yes. Are they mad? No, they said it's fine and they have plenty of time. Okay, so what's the problem? I don't like to be late. Nobody likes to be late, but you got a flat tire. Like the solution is breathe, fix your tire, get there when you can, reboot. Right. So we get totally hijacked by the emotional component of the thing that's happening, as opposed to just organize it, structure. I love that.
And to your, just to kind of add to that, there's a tool that I use, fact versus interpretation. What's the fact? What happened? And separate that, like you were saying, Matt, from, okay, what's my interpretation? So the fact is, I've got the flat tire. My interpretation is, and that's
They're all
where
going to be mad. Yeah, they're all going to be mad at me. I'm never going to get the business, right?
right.
Like they think I'm
Right.
a terrible person.
Right.
You know, that's all the shit you made up.
That's the story. Deb
Yeah.
put in the chat. That's the story. That's the
Yeah,
story,
that's the
right?
story,
So
right.
yeah, let's deal with the fact. And then we can process the interpretation if it's not, when it's not going to be inconvenient for this meeting that we've got to get to. Yeah.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Thank you, Eva.
Yeah.
Nargia, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Eva. Thank you so much. I just have a quick shout out. Thank you. I appreciate you coming on the call today. It kind of gave me that quick reminder that I needed, because I'm born and raised in Jamaica too. Moved to the States 9 years ago, and I kind of forgot that living in Jamaica, it's obstacles after obstacles you're thrown at you, right at you. Today your light is gone, there's no water, there's no internet, you're making minimum wage, you don't have this, you don't have that, and you have to learn that how to survive. And I feel like I've taken it for granted living here. The least things these days are throwing me off, or I'm not able to cope, or I was like, girl, what are you talking about? You come from Jamaica. These are things that should not phase you. So the call today just reminded me that your experience in Jamaica, your roof is gone, things are happening, you don't have any electricity. It's just how I process now and say, hey, this is gonna work out. This is not all of it. It's gonna get better. I need to just do that. And it was a good reminder for me. So I thank you for that. And I want to ask you a quick question. Did you ever get to put your roof back on?
Yeah, man, the roof did it, man. The roof is there.
Right. No, mine is completely gone from the last
hurricane. Yeah.
Yes.
We
So
had more damage.
definitely.
Yeah, we had more damage and it took a while, but we got the roof fixed again. And I will say this, Jamaica it's different realities for different people.
Yeah.
For the majority of the island, I think it is a challenge. And to your point, Nargia, did I pronounce that right? Nargia? Nargia. It's I like I said, I came from a well-educated family, but I really learned, not in a great way. I learned, I guess, kind of lack in Jamaica. And when I came back to the States, I had to kind of try to unlearn the lack. And in some instances, I'm still unlearning it. The ticket to Jamaica, we paid more for it because I was waiting for the ticket to go down and it kept going up. And my partner was like, honey, we got to work on it still. We could have bought it, but you were waiting. So I'm like, that's true. It's insidious. So it's something I'm always working on.
Well, we get programmed. Like
Yeah.
we're baby, when we're born, we're not born with all these inherent traits. These are learned behaviors that we absorb from our environment as children, and then as we go through life, we either unlearn or learn new things, which is why that open mindset is so crucial. And we start everything here on the team with the premise that you actually know nothing, because if you just adopt the posture that you know nothing, it's actually so incredibly freeing to be open to new
Absolutely.
possibilities. So of
Absolutely.
all the things that there are to be known, of all the things that you could possibly know, possibly every single fact that's ever been known, how much do you actually know?
Mm-hmm.
We know
Right.
nothing.
Yeah.
We know nothing. So
Yeah.
just be open to the learning. So, with all this talk of roofs, I'm just curious, is there a business opportunity in Jamaica for a roofing company that we ought to jump in on? Because it feels to me like plywood and shingles, I could get a shipping container down there pretty quick. And I know a lot of people that would like to go to work. So just wondering, just
It's
wondering.
Yeah, you'll get the
a
first
lot.
customer from me, Matt. As
There's a
soon as
Yeah,
my
lot.
I
roof's
mean,
redone,
when I
uh-huh.
spent quite a bit of time in the Caribbean, and I came back and I shared with several friends. I'm like, there is such an opportunity for just infrastructure, and again, I'm sure that I'm not the first person to see it, and probably not the first person. There's probably some barriers to making that work, but when you think in possibilities, you realize there's so much opportunity around that. So.
Yeah.
But that's a
Well,
conversation for another day. But
KW Realty is in Jamaica. I do know that.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, in Aruba too. KW's down there. That's for
Yeah.
sure. So, guys, it's a Friday. We're so freaking lucky to have had Eva join us today. Thank you so much, Eva.
Thank
We're
you
so
guys for
lucky to
having me.
have Shakara have brought her to us. Thank you, Shakara. Before we wrap up, Eva, how can we help you? You've got 30 powerful, influential, ambassadors of their communities here, who you've just delivered a ton of value to. How can we support you? Where can we show up? And whether that's somewhere in social media or something that you're looking for, or someone that we can refer to you. What can we do to help you?
That is so generous. And I just thanks for asking. As a still fairly newbie here in Connecticut, I'm building my credibility and I'm looking for opportunities to work with leaders in their teams
Okay.
around, yeah, executive coaching. It's just getting everybody rowing in the same direction. Like I said, Matt, not many leaders do what you do here.
Mm.
And so, oftentimes I will help to create systems and programs for groups and teams similar to this, or working one-on-one with their people, to really kind of uncover what's going on and help people align their visions and their goals with what the company is looking for. So if you know any leaders, teams who are looking for
What would be a
some.
good resource? Because I can immediately think of 4 or 5 people that I'd love to introduce you to. What's a good resource for us to have access to what you do, how you do? Is there a website or is it the YouTube channel? Is there some sort of resource that we can provide or look at in order to make an introduction?
Mm, great question. And this reminds me I should be posting more on LinkedIn. But
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Is your LinkedIn profile the best thing to connect
my
somebody to?
LinkedIn for now, yeah, I've got a brief that I can send out, and actually talk to someone who's working on my website, my revamped website now. But
Okay.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right, awesome. Well, thank you, Eva. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
guys.
Guys, you know the drill. It's the weekend, so sign something, sell something, or set an appointment. That's all you got to do. See you later. Thank you again, Eva. Thank you.